Ambassador Kim Jaiwon walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers. Her boots clicked against the smooth metal floor as she entered the enormous room. The ceiling stretched so high above her that she could barely see it. Thousands of alien beings sat in curved rows, all looking down at the small platform where she would have to stand. The chamber buzzed with strange sounds. Some aliens made clicking noises with their mouths. Others hummed in low tones that made the air vibrate. A few species communicated by changing the colors of their skin. Jaiwon had studied many of these languages, but being surrounded by so many different creatures still made her feel very small. She took her place on the speaking platform and looked up at the assembled delegates. The crystalline Zephyrians sparkled like living diamonds in the artificial light. Their bodies were made of what looked like colored glass, and they tinkled softly when they moved. The insectoid Vrex clicked their mandibles together, creating a sound like hundreds of typewriters working at once. Their 6 legs moved constantly, never staying still. High above them all sat High Magistrate Zorvek. He belonged to the Korvathi race, and his massive reptilian body was covered in dark green scales. Each scale was as large as Jaiwon's hand. His yellow eyes, each one bigger than her head, stared down at her with obvious contempt. When he breathed, smoke drifted from his nostrils. The council will now hear the final arguments regarding the human species, Zorvek announced. His voice was so deep that it made the platform vibrate under Jaiwon's feet. A Zephyrian delegate stood up, their crystal body reflecting light in all directions. When they spoke, their voice sounded like wind chimes. Humans have been spacefaring for only 50 years. They are children playing with dangerous toys. Their own history shows they cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Jaiwon clenched her fists but kept her expression calm. A Vrex representative rose next, their insect-like head tilting as they spoke. Humans fight constantly among themselves. They have had over 200 wars in their recorded history. Such a violent species cannot be allowed free access to galactic resources. More aliens nodded their various heads in agreement. Some had tentacles that waved in approval. Others flashed bright colors across their skin. Furthermore, continued a gaseous ethereal whose voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Humans reproduce at an alarming rate. If not controlled, they will spread across the galaxy like a plague. Jaiwon stepped forward, her hand steady despite the anger burning in her chest. Honored delegates, you judge us based on incomplete information. Yes, humans have fought wars, but we have also learned from them. Our greatest advancements come from our ability to adapt and grow. Zorvek's laugh was like distant thunder. Adapt? You have barely left your home system. What could a species of primitives possibly teach the galaxy? We teach that growth comes from challenge. Jaiwon replied firmly. Every species here has had thousands of years to develop. Humans have achieved spaceflight, faster than light travel, and peaceful contact with alien civilizations in just 5 decades. That should tell you something about our potential. A delegate from the Korvathi mining guilds spoke up. Potential for destruction. Your species split the atom and immediately used it as a weapon. You polluted your own planet and nearly destroyed yourselves with climate change. And we fixed those problems, Jaiwon countered. We learned to harness clean energy. We restored our atmosphere. We united our scattered nations into a single government dedicated to peaceful exploration. Show me another species that has overcome such obstacles so quickly. But her words fell on deaf ears. The delegates had already made up their minds. Zorvek raised his massive clawed hand for silence. The council has reached its decision. By a vote of 847 in favor, 23 against, with 37 abstentions, the human species will be classified as subordinate. The words hit Jaiwon like a physical blow. Around the chamber, larger species applauded while smaller, weaker ones remained silent. This means, Zorvek continued, that human vessels may only use approved trade routes. Human colonies are limited to systems we designate. All human technology must be approved by council oversight committees before implementation. Human military vessels may not exceed current specifications without permission. Jaiwon felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice level. This is a mistake, Magistrate. You are judging us based on fear rather than facts. The decision is final, Zorvek declared. Guards will escort you back to your transport. You have 30 standard days to inform your government of these new regulations. As security officers approached her, Jaiwin touched a small communication device hidden in her collar. Captain Lee Miho, she whispered, knowing the quantum transmitter would carry her words instantly across the galaxy. Execute Protocol 7. Show them what humans really are. She walked calmly toward the exit. Ignoring the stares and whispers that followed her, the aliens thought they had contained humanity. They had no idea they had just awakened something far more dangerous than any weapon. They had awakened human determination. 3 months had passed since the Council's declaration, and the galaxy seemed peaceful. Trade flowed through the approved routes. Human ships stayed in their designated areas. The monitoring stations reported no unusual activity from the subordinate species. High Magistrate Zorvek reviewed the daily reports with satisfaction. His massive clawed hand tapped against his desk as he read each update. Human cargo vessels were moving exactly where they should. Their colonies were staying within the boundaries the Council had set. Everything was working perfectly. The humans are learning their place, he rumbled to his assistant, a smaller Korvathi named Zarek. Perhaps they are not as troublesome as we first thought. Zarek's scales flickered nervously. Yes, Magistrate, though some of our monitoring stations have reported brief sensor glitches in the outer systems. Zorvek waved a dismissive claw. Equipment failures. The humans lack the technology to interfere with our sensors. Continue the regular patrols. Far from the Council's watching eyes, Captain Lee Miho guided his ship through a nebula that did not appear on any galactic chart. The Pioneer's Edge moved silently between clouds of colorful gas and floating rocks. Here, hidden from Council sensors, humanity was building something extraordinary. Status report, Park Sajin. Miho called to his chief engineer. Park Sajin wiped sweat from her forehead as she climbed out of a maintenance shaft. Her hands were still glowing with energy from the quantum core she had been adjusting. The 37 gate is online, Captain. We can now move our entire fleet to any point in the galaxy within minutes. Miho smiled as he looked out at the massive ring-shaped structure floating in space. The quantum jump gate was bigger than most space stations, yet it was completely invisible to Council technology. Human engineers had learned to bend space itself, creating doorways between distant stars. How many more do we need? Miho asked. Dr. Yoon Han says we need at least 50 gates for full coverage, Sajin replied. But with what we have now, we can reach most of the important systems. On the hidden world of Kepler, 442b, Dr. Yoon Han worked in her underground laboratory. The Council thought this planet was empty, just another dead rock orbiting a distant star. They had no idea that thousands of humans lived beneath its surface, working day and night to unlock the secrets of the universe. Heian held up a small device that glowed with soft blue light. It looked simple, but it contained technology that would revolutionize space travel. Computer, run Simulation 17, she said. The laboratory filled with holographic displays, showing complex equations and energy patterns. The device in her hand was a quantum tunneling engine, smaller and more powerful than anything the Council had ever imagined. The test results are perfect, she announced to her team. This engine can move a ship faster than any Council vessel. We're not just catching up to their technology anymore. We're surpassing it. Her assistant, Choi Minji, looked worried. Dr. Heian, are you sure we should keep this secret from the Council? If they find out we're developing advanced technology without permission, Heian's eyes hardened. The Council declared us subordinate based on ignorance and fear. They never gave us a chance to prove ourselves. Now we'll show them what humans can really do. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on dozens of hidden worlds. Human colonies that the Council didn't know existed were growing rapidly. Children who had been born in space were learning skills that would amaze their alien overseers. Engineers were solving problems that had puzzled other species for centuries. On the mining world of Titan 7, colonist Song Hyunwoo was teaching his daughter how to repair a gravity generator. The machine had been built by the Korvathi and was supposed to be too complex for humans to understand. See this pattern here? Hyunwoo pointed to a section of the device. The Korvathi think in straight lines. But if we approach it from this angle, his 10-year-old daughter, Song Nari, nodded eagerly. We can make it work twice as well with half the energy. Hyunwoo smiled proudly. Exactly. The Council thinks being new to space makes us weak, but it actually makes us stronger. We don't have old habits limiting our thinking. Meanwhile, the Council spy networks continue to report normal human activity. Their observers saw cargo ships, mining operations, and peaceful colonies. They had no idea that every human transport was also a communication relay, that every mining station was connected to a vast underground network, and that every colony was a training ground for technologies beyond their imagination. Commander Zytha of the Vrex Patrol Fleet was especially confident. Her ships regularly inspected human vessels, and she always found exactly what she expected to find. Basic cargo, simple equipment, primitive computers. The humans are exactly what we thought, she reported to her superiors. A backward species that poses no threat to galactic order. Their compliance has been complete. She never noticed that the primitive computers on human ships were running quantum calculations that would have burned out Vrex processors. She never realized that the simple equipment could be reconfigured into weapons more advanced than anything in her arsenal. And she certainly never suspected that every human she encountered was sharing information through quantum communication networks that operated faster than light itself. The Council had made a fatal error. They had assumed that because humans were new to space, they would remain inferior. Instead, humanity was using every day of their subordination to leap ahead of their supposed superiors. The trap was being set, and the Council had no idea they were already caught in it. The emergency alarm screamed through the bridge of the refugee ship New Dawn. Captain Kim Tae-yoon gripped his command chair as the massive vessel shuddered under the strain of its failing engines. Red warning lights flashed across every surface, casting an eerie glow over the 800 families huddled in the passenger compartments below. Engineering report, Tae-yoon called out, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Main drive is completely dead, Captain, replied Engineer Yu Jimin, her fingers flying over her control panel. We got maybe 6 hours of life support left. The quantum core is leaking radiation. Tae-yoon closed his eyes for a moment. The colony on Titan, 7 had been humanity's pride for 3 years. They had turned a dead world into a garden, built cities and clouds, and raised their children under alien stars. Then the terraforming equipment failed, and the atmosphere began turning poisonous. Now 800 families were running for their lives in a ship that was falling apart. Signal from the escort ship's captain announced communications Officer Park Won-ho. Captain Lee Miho requests permission to transfer some of our refugees to his vessels. Negative. Tae-yoon replied immediately. The escort ships are already overloaded. We keep our people together. Through the view screen, he could see the 3 small human warships that had volunteered to escort the refugee convoy. The ships looked tiny compared to the massive transport, but their crews had risked everything to help civilians escape. Captain Lee Mio's Pioneer's Edge led the formation, flanked by the Defiant and the Guardian. Suddenly, new contact appeared on the sensor display. Large, angular ships with the distinctive insect-like design of the Vrex Empire. Commander Zytha's patrol fleet had found them. Incoming transmission, Won-ho announced nervously. The main screen flickered to life, showing Commander Zytha's alien features. Her compound eyes glittered like black jewels, and her mandibles clicked together as she spoke. Human vessels, you are in violation of Council shipping regulations. Your cargo manifest shows unauthorized refugee transport. Captain Lee Miho's voice crackled over the communication channel from his escort ship. Commander Zytha, we are conducting an emergency evacuation. These are civilian refugees, including children and elderly. We request safe passage to the nearest human colony. Zytha's head tilted in the predatory way that made humans uncomfortable. Request denied. According to Council Directive 447, all human population movements must be pre-approved. Your refugees will be redistributed to appropriate facilities. Tae-yoon felt his blood turn cold. He knew what appropriate facilities meant. The Council's refugee camps were little better than prisons, where humans were separated from their families and held indefinitely. "Commander," Miho's voice was carefully controlled, "we have families aboard, children who have already lost their homes. Surely the Council would not separate parents from their children." "The Council's directives are absolute," Zytha replied coldly. "Prepare to be boarded, or we will take action." On the bridge of the Pioneer's Edge, Captain Lee Miho stared at his tactical display. 4 Vrex ships surrounded his small convoy. Each enemy vessel was larger and more heavily armed than all 3 human escorts combined. By every logical calculation, this was a fight he could not win. But logic had never stopped humans before. "Communications. Open a channel to all human vessels in range," Miho ordered. His communications officer, Lieutenant Jang Won-young, looked confused. "Sir, there are no other human ships in this sector." "Trust me," Miho said grimly. "Open the channel." The lieutenant's fingers hesitated over her controls. Broadcasting on open frequencies would reveal their position to every ship within several light years. But she had served under Miho for 2 years and learned to trust his instincts. "Channel open, Captain." Miho took a deep breath. "This is Captain Lee Miho of the Earth Defense Force vessel Pioneer's Edge. We have 800 civilian refugees under threat from Vrex forces. We are outnumbered 4 to 1. Any human vessels in range, we need immediate assistance." For 30 seconds, nothing happened. The Vrex ships continued their approach, weapons charging. Commander Zytha's laughter echoed across the communication channel. "Calling for help, humans? There are no other ships here. You are alone." Then space began to shimmer. The first quantum tunnel opened directly above the convoy, a swirling vortex of blue and silver light. The human destroyer Indomitable emerged from the tunnel, like a shark rising from deep water. Then another tunnel opened, and another. Within minutes, 37 human warships surrounded the startled Vrex patrol. Commander Zytha's compound eyes went wide with shock. "Impossible. Our sensors showed no human ships in this sector." "Your sensors were wrong," came a new voice over the communication channel. Captain Park Jaiwin of the Indomitable spoke with quiet authority. "Commander Zytha, you have threatened human civilians. Stand down immediately." The Vrex commander's mandibles clicked frantically. "These ships, where they come from? Your quantum tunnel technology is primitive." "Was primitive," Miho corrected. "We've made some improvements." Taeyun watched in amazement as the human fleet took defensive positions around his refugee ship. The vessels moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. Their hulls gleamed with armor that seemed to shift and flow like living metal. "Commander Zytha," Captain Park's voice carried across all frequencies. "You have 60 seconds to withdraw your forces. After that, we will consider any Vrex vessel in this area to be hostile." The alien commander's ship fired a warning shot across the bow of the nearest human vessel. The energy beam struck the ship's hull and simply disappeared, absorbed by shields that glowed briefly blue before returning to invisibility. 59 seconds, Park announced calmly. Commander Zytha realized she was no longer Predator. She had become the prey. The emergency session alarm echoed to the Galactic Council chambers as delegates rushed to their seats. High Magistrate Zorvek's massive claws scraped against his podium as he read report after report, each one more impossible than the last. 17 sectors, he growled, his yellow eyes blazing with fury. Human fleets have appeared in 17 sectors simultaneously. How is this possible? His aide, Zarek, trembled as he delivered the next update. Magistrate, our patrol fleet in the Kepler sector reports that a single human convoy was escorted by 37 warships that appeared from nowhere. Commander Zytha's forces were forced to retreat. The chamber erupted in panicked chatter. The crystalline Zephyrians chimed frantically, their bodies flashing with anxious colors. The gaseous ethereals swirled in agitated clouds. Even the normally calm Korvathi delegates shifted nervously in their seats. Silence! Zorvek roared. His voice was so loud that several smaller species covered their hearing organs. Where did these ships come from? Our intelligence networks reported no human military buildup. Before anyone could answer, The massive doors of the chamber slid open. Ambassador Kim Jae-won walked in, but she was not alone. Behind her came Admiral Song Hyun-woo, wearing a uniform that none of the aliens had ever seen before. The fabric seemed to shimmer with its own inner light, and strange symbols moved across its surface like living things. Magistrate Zorvek, Jae-won announced, her voice carrying clearly across the vast chamber. I return as requested to discuss humanity's new status. Zorvek's laugh was like grinding stone. Your new status? You mean your punishment for this illegal military action. You dare to threaten the peace of the galaxy. We threaten nothing, Admiral Song replied calmly. We are simply exercising our right to protect our civilians. Rights? Spluttered a Rex delegate, his mandibles clicking rapidly. Subordinate species have no rights beyond what the Council grants them. Jae-won smiled, and somehow that smile made every alien in the chamber feel uncomfortable. That brings us to why we're here. Humanity formally rejects its subordinate status. The chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for economic sanctions. A few of the smaller species watched quietly, remembering their own experiences with Council protection. Captain Choi Minji stepped forward, carrying a glowing datapad that projected holographic displays into the air above her head. While you've been congratulating yourselves on containing humanity, 23 Council member species have contacted us directly. The hologram showed trade agreements, technology sharing deals, and mutual defense pacts. Species after species had secretly approached humanity, offering partnerships that bypass Council authority entirely. The Ethereals want our quantum tunneling technology, Minji continued. The Korvathi mining guilds prefer our efficiency rates to their own outdated methods. Even the outer colonies of Rex Space are requesting human engineering support. Commander Zytha, who had been called to testify about the Kepler incident, stood up angrily. Lies! The Vrex Empire would never deal with subordinate humans. Vrex Colony Designation 77 Alpha, Minji read from her datapad. Formal request for human terraforming assistance, dated 3 days ago. Signed by Colony Administrator Vex Prime Kithera. Zytha's compound eyes went dark. Her own people were making deals behind the Empire's back. Dr. Yoon Haen's hologram suddenly appeared in the center of the chamber, her image crystal clear despite being transmitted from halfway across the galaxy. Honored delegates, you seem confused about human capabilities. Allow me to demonstrate. The hologram shifted to show a massive space station under construction. Thousands of human workers moved in perfect coordination, assembling structures that seemed to defy known physics. Ships arrived through quantum tunnels every few seconds, carrying materials and personnel from across the galaxy. This is Prometheus Station, Haen explained, our primary research facility, built in 4 months using technologies that we developed while you thought we were safely contained. The alien delegate stared in stunned silence. The station was larger than most planets and clearly more advanced than anything in Council space. Impossible, whispered the ethereal representative. Our sensors detect no such construct. Your sensors detect what we allow them to detect, Haen replied. Human stealth technology has progressed somewhat since our last conversation. Magistrate Zorvek's scales had turned pale green with shock. You've been hiding this entire network while appearing to comply with our restrictions. We have been learning, Admiral Song said simply. You gave us 3 months to understand our place in the galaxy. We used that time wisely. A small, furry delegate from one of the rim worlds stood up nervously. If humans could do all this, why haven't you conquered us? Your fleet could easily overwhelm our defenses. Jae-won's expression softened. Because conquest was never our goal. We came to the stars seeking cooperation, not domination. The Council's mistake was assuming that strength must be used for oppression. What do you want? Zorvek asked, his voice much quieter now. A new agreement, Jae-won replied. An end to arbitrary subordination based on age or prejudice. Species advancement measured by contribution, not politics. Fair representation for all civilizations, not just the oldest or strongest. More delegates began standing. The small species that had been silent for so long started speaking up. Mining guilds broke ranks with their home governments. Trade unions declared independence from council oversight. "This is revolution," Zorvek said grimly. "This is evolution," Jaiwin corrected. "The galaxy is changing, Magistrate. You can change with it or be left behind." The old order was crumbling, and everyone in the chamber knew it. 6 months later, the Galactic Council chambers looked completely different. The towering platforms that had once separated the powerful from the weak were gone. In their place sat a circular arrangement of seats where every species sat at the same level. The artificial lighting had been changed from harsh white to warm gold, making the vast space feel more welcoming. Former High Magistrate Zorvek sat in a simple chair like everyone else. His massive frame seemed smaller somehow, his once proud scales now dull with defeat. He watched as Ambassador Kim Jaiwin stood at the center of the circle, addressing what was now called the Galactic Assembly. "Today marks the 6th month of our new cooperation agreement," Jaiwin announced, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. "The results speak for themselves." A holographic display appeared above her head, showing star charts covered in green indicators. Piracy in the Outer Rim has dropped by 87% thanks to our joint patrol efforts. Trade volume has increased by 200%. Refugee crises have been reduced to nearly zero. Captain Lee Miho, now Admiral of the Combined Defense Fleet, stepped forward. His uniform bore symbols from dozens of different species, representing the unity they had achieved. The Vrex Empire and humanity have successfully eliminated the Dark Star pirates who had terrorized the shipping lanes for over 50 years. Murmurs of approval rippled around the chamber. Even former enemies were working together now. Dr. Yoon Haen appeared as a hologram beside Jaiwin. "Our technology sharing program has revolutionized agriculture on 43 worlds. The drought on Kepler Prime has been ended using human atmospheric processors combined with ethereal weather control techniques." An ethereal delegate swirled in their gaseous form, their voice echoing from speakers throughout the chamber. "The combination of human innovation and our energy manipulation has created possibilities we never imagined. Our joint research station has made more discoveries in 6 months than we made in the previous century." Captain Park Jaiwin, now Director of Colonial Development, presented the next report. 17 new colony worlds have been successfully terraformed using combined council technologies. Families displaced from failed settlements have been relocated to better homes than they ever had before. Zorvek shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His own people, the Korvathi mining guilds, had seen their profits increase by 300% since partnering with human efficiency experts. Even he had to admit the new system was working better than the old one. A small, furry delegate from the Nexian Republic stood up. Her species had been ignored by the old council for generations. For the first time in our history, Nexian colonies have access to advanced medical technology. Human doctors work with our healers to create treatments that work for our unique biology. Our child mortality rate has dropped to almost nothing. Another delegate rose, this one from a crystalline species that had been considered too fragile for space travel. "Human engineers helped us design new ships that protect our crystal bodies from radiation. We can now explore the galaxy safely." Commander Zytha, who had been demoted after a confrontation with a human refugee convoy, spoke reluctantly. "The Vrex military has benefited from human tactical innovations. Our response time to emergencies has improved significantly." Even she had to admit that the humans' three-dimensional thinking had revolutionized Vrex strategy. Song Hyunwoo, now the Assembly's Chief of Technology Integration, activated another holographic display. "Our quantum tunnel network now connects 400 star systems. Travel time between the core worlds and the Outer Rim has been reduced from months to hours. The economic benefits alone," added Captain Choi Minji, who had become the Trade Coordination Director, "have lifted 37 species out of poverty. Resource distribution is now based on need rather than political influence." An old Korvathi delegate, one who had initially opposed human inclusion, stood slowly. "I must admit my error. I believed that age meant wisdom, that being old in space made us superior. The humans have shown us that fresh perspectives can solve problems we thought impossible. Young Captain Kim Tae-yoon, whose refugee ship had sparked the crisis 6 months earlier, now served as the Assembly's Refugee Protection Coordinator. No family will ever again face the terror my passengers experienced. Our early warning systems and rapid response protocols ensure that evacuations begin before colonies fail completely. Jaiwin looked around the chamber, seeing faces that had once been filled with contempt and fear now showing respect and hope. The old system was based on the idea that some species were naturally superior to others. The new system recognizes that every civilization has something valuable to contribute. A Zephyrian delegate chimed softly, their crystal body flashing with gentle colors. Human determination combined with our computational abilities has created the most efficient space traffic control system in galactic history. As the session continued, report after report showed the same pattern. Species that had been enemies were now allies. Problems that had existed for centuries were being solved. The galaxy was becoming a better place for everyone. Zorvek finally stood, his massive form commanding attention. I must acknowledge what I see before me. Humanity has not conquered the galaxy as I feared. They have improved it. His voice was quiet, almost humble. Perhaps there is wisdom in their approach after all. Jaiwin smiled warmly at her former adversary. There's still a place for experience and wisdom, Magistrate. We just believe it should be combined with innovation and hope. As the assembly session ended, delegates from dozens of species mingled freely, planning joint projects and sharing ideas. The galaxy had learned that cooperation was stronger than domination, that diversity was more valuable than conformity. Humanity had kept its promise. They had not conquered the stars. They had made them better.